the first moment when I blew out the candle, like I said, my heart was pounding. I don't know what I don't know, and I've never been in this situation before. And it's almost like swimming in the ocean and not knowing what's below you. The mind can create, or what is it going to be like, or fear or projection. And at the beginning, I actually felt a lot of joy and excitement that I was in the darkness. I'm like, yeah, I'm finally alone. Like, I was like dancing, and like I had my meal and the fire had just been stoked. And so that was when it was like the reset. And then the next 12 hours would be the next time he comes with the meal and the fire stoking to keep it warm. And so I'm sitting there eating my meal, and I'm realizing that in the darkness, it's the realm of projection of the mind. So if my mind wants to say, okay, let's go to the scenario where I am sitting in the future with my future children, which is a dream of mine to have children one day. And so I went into where I was, this is straight, like, I don't know, 10 minutes after blowing out the candle, I'm sitting at the table in the pitch black, eating my dinner, and I'm with my children, asking them how their day was. And it was like playing into the infinite scenarios that's available in the darkness, because it can just be the projection of the mind of whatever I want to make it to be. And I'm recognizing that the power of manifestation is based off of in the present moment, reshaping the future in the present moment. So I was dancing with my kids at this table, and I was eating my dinner, and I was really excited about this adventure that I was about to go on, recognizing that I've accessed and tapped into so many different parts of my mind that I can play with finally without a lot of energy leaking towards what's going on in the situation. So I was like really excited at the beginning. And simultaneously, I went in with a lot of tools. It was like, okay, I got breath work, I got my mantras, I got my yoga, I have a pleasure practice, I can take a bath, I can sing Icaros. Like, I was still in the doing mind of like, I'm gonna crush this darkness experience and I'm gonna bring it with all of the tools that I have got, and I'm gonna sit in manifestation, and then I was gonna do Reiki on every part of my body and spend 15 minutes on each part of my body, pouring that life force energy back into myself. And funny thing is because of how long the darkness is, the doing mind only lasts so long.
Yeah.
You run out of things to do, and then it's all of a sudden like, right, now what? So the first night I had a bath, and I remember doing a meditation before I went into the darkness, and I was shown that in the bath I was going to receive a transmission from some higher sense of myself, and just to be in the listening. So I got in the bath, and I had all this expectation that some profound transmission was going to come through, and I sit there with my mudra, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready for my transmission. I'm in the earth, underground, in a body of water, in the dark, ready to go. And all I got was, your mind is too busy, come back tomorrow. And I was like, that wasn't epic. And so it was, the first night was really just a lot of doing, easy. And then I went to bed and I slept for what felt like 15 hours. Yeah. And usually I can know how long I've slept, A, because I have a ring that tells me all the sleep levels and how much time I slept. B, I can look outside and see how light it is. C, I look at my cell phone and I'll tell the time. I have no external reference point of what time it is. And so what was being required of me was to trust my own body's knowledge and wisdom, how long has passed. So I could tell by how my mouth felt in the morning, how dry it was, how did it taste, so how long it's been closed for. Did I need to go to the bathroom? And how warm was the wall that was the fire that was behind it? Because usually it stays warm for around 12 hours. So there's different gauges that would allow me to rely on my own intelligence of the listening of my body to actually know what time it was, which I've never in my life had to rely on. Which was super primal, extremely empowering, and really fascinating to be able to tune into to a knowing beyond something external. And so I would gauge it. But as soon as I woke up in the morning, that was when the weight of the fact that I was in the darkness hit me. Because you go from dreaming into the void again. Usually you go from dreaming into life. And it was like, I woke up and I felt this heaviness on my chest of like, oh, I'm really in this bitch. Like I'm really in it now. And that was when it started to get confronting. The day two, after the first night. That was when I was like, okay, I can do my mantra. I really noticed significantly noticed the difference of who I'd be before my practice and who I was after my practice. Before my practice, I was questioning, I was in doubt, I wasn't sure, I felt a heaviness, I felt an anxiety in my chest. I felt a questioning of why did I choose to do this? And then after I did my mantras, I do like 108 mantras for 4 different mantras. So, and then I would probably repeat those. So I would do around 1,000 mantras a day. And I would sing Ikaros and I would do my yoga and breath work. Breath work was amazing in there. And that would bring me back into my center and it would help me soften and surrender a lot more. But there was very, very, very confronting moments that eventually led to a full death. Like I knew that the darkness was going to be a death. I went in there with a very, very clear intention that I had just separated from my partnership. My grandfather and my grandmother had passed away within weeks of each other. I'd moved out of my house and into a new home. It felt like everything I had got COVID, like everything just hit all within a very short period of time. And I knew that I was going to go into the darkness and die in there and die this old version of myself. And I hit a death that like really fucked me up.
Yeah.
In the best way.
Tell us about it.
So after night 2, I knew that I was going to get my moon, my period while I was in there, which is also a death in itself, of a bleed of what was or could have potentially have been life. And it was like it's a release of the body of all that's not serving. And so bearing that in mind.
That's something that let's just take a moment and double click, because for us in our circle, like we get that, like the moon is a time to shed everything that you've accumulated into your energy body, which through your womb space is a major place, particularly for the feminine, where hold a lot of energy, and the moon is a shedding of that energy. But that's something that we can't take for granted as universal knowledge, because it's certainly not taught. It's like, oh, you're having this inconvenient thing where blood is coming out of you. Here, stuff this toxic thing up there and block it, because it's a nuisance, right? There's no reverence for these natural processes. And so like, it's important. Like that fact alone is like, just be mindful that there's things happening on an energetic level that are linked to something that's happening in the physical, biological. But we've severed those links in so many different ways, every way around. We've created mind, spirit, body, all made them separate, but they're not. They all have a different process. So yeah, like that idea of the moon shedding what's been accumulated that month is a pretty important idea.
It's extremely important. And I had such a big process around all the years of my life that I have been conditioned to dishonor that part of my life, and to be raised in an environment that always laughed at it, mocked it, shamed it. And in England, it was even called, oh, she's on the blob. Like, ugh, what a horrible
She's on the blob.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Charlotte's on the blob.
Is that because of a tampon? Is that the blob?
I guess so. I don't know. I don't really understand the origin of being, but even just the name or the word of that, of like, she's on a blob. Ew. Like, it's not an honoring of this. It's a very, very, very sacred process. And during my journey, I had a realization of the sacredness of a woman on her moon cycle. And I had to mourn all the times that I did place a bleached filled tampon up there and then threw it away and be like, ugh, and disregarded that part of my death and rebirth process that happens every single month as a woman. And so, yeah, I've been deep into a reverence and a respect and an understanding of what it truly means to be a woman and what it truly means to have a moon cycle and the honoring of it. And also recognizing that in some traditions, you know, women aren't allowed to sit in ceremony when they're bleeding because it's distracting for the shaman, because a woman is in her full power. Like it's a very, very, very powerful honoring time to go inwards and to be in the sacred rest of the honoring of that placement of our cycle. And so I knew that with the context that I was going through a death of everything that's calibrating in my life, going into the darkness, which is the void, and bleeding at the same time, I knew that there was going to be something significant that was going to be here for me. And in the darkness, the dream state is more real than the actual waking state, because there's nothing in the waking state, but in the dream state, there's visions and there's conversations and there's people and the lights are on and you're doing these different things. And so my dreams as just a default are always really, really vivid and really strong. And sometimes it's hard for me to determine whether it's actually real or it's a dream. And that night I fell asleep and I went into a very, very, very vivid dream, which I told you about, where I was actually with you and we went to this house and you said, okay, well, we're on our way to somewhere. And you said, we're going to stay at this house on our way to this place and with these people. And we walked into the house and everything about the house was off. Like there was plastic covered all over the furniture and there was 3 men there and they were really creepy. And they had this dog that had these like bioluminescent eyes. And I remember asking, can I pet your dog? And they were like, no, he's not friendly. And I was like, mm. And I remember sitting in the guest room ready to fall asleep. And somebody was with me and said, I don't have good vibes about this place. We need to get out of here. And I remember saying, well, I trust Aubrey. I feel like it'll be fine. So in my dream, which felt extremely real, I didn't know that I was dreaming. I fell asleep and I woke up and I was being sexually assaulted in my dream. And it was terrifying. And I had so much physical pain in my stomach and I was panicking, like really freaking out. And I just, disclaimer, it's going to get a little dark for a moment. In self-defense, ended up finding a sharp object.
And just to be clear before we get to this part, when you're saying sexual assault, it was rape, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was rape.
Yeah.
And it was correlated. So you have a dream about being raped and you wake and your womb is in immense pain.
Immense pain.
So that conflation of a dream state vision, which would be an extraordinarily painful thing, both energetically and physically, and having energetic physical pain, like in the absolute darkness where you can't necessarily shake from reality. I just want people to like sit in this reality where you do wake up and you are awake, but you still feel
pain.
You still feel what had happened.
Yeah.
Obviously a different cause, of course, but like you're feeling something that would be correlated to that actual event happening.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's extremely confusing what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
When the pain carries through once the nightmare is over.
Yeah.
So just to finish off what had happened, I ended up stabbing the man that was raping me in the dream. And then there was blood everywhere in the dream and I was panicking and I was trying to collect the blood.
What did you stab him with?
I don't remember. It was just a sharp thing that was to my right.
Uh-huh.
And I just kind of grabbed it in a panic. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like this is happening. And and then I was like, wait, the lights are on. I must be dreaming because I know that I'm in the darkness. So I need to get out of this dream. And so I was doing everything I could to get out of the dream. I'm like punching myself and it felt like I was stuck in it, like a sleep paralysis, stuck inside this nightmare in like an inception kind of moment. Eventually I ended up waking up and I instantly just realized and remembered I'm back in the darkness. Now, in the past, when I've had nightmares, I've turned to my lover and I've been like, and be held in the darkness. Or I turn my phone on and I check the time and I kind of reconnect, or I turn the light on, or I find some sort of creature comfort. The darkness has no creature comfort. So, and I'm in excruciating pain in my womb. So I stand up as if it's actually happened to me. My heart is pounding. I'm discombobulated. I'm not really sure where I'm going. I stand up and then I'm bleeding and there's like blood dripping out of me. And I remember just like almost like hyperventilating with panic. Like it really broke me on all levels of my psyche, mentally, physically, spiritually, sexually, multidimensionally. And like I just felt broken. And I went to the bathroom and I couldn't really see, but I was feeling and I was like, okay, well, the one creature comfort I do have is the bath and to run the bath water, because when I'm in hot water, I can fully relax. I'm a water sign. Water for me is like a rebirthing place. So I went to like turn the water on, and of course there's no hot water. The water was not working. The hot water wasn't running. So the one thing that I did have as an external comfort was not available. And so I just remember crawling into a ball on the floor and weeping, crying, and in so much pain, and feeling there was this voice that came in. It was like, it's a self-guided experience. The door isn't locked. I could just leave. I don't have to suffer like this. Just walk out of there. What are you doing? Like, look at you. And you paid to do this. Like, you literally paid physical money to sit in this room and go through this. Like, get out of here. Just walk out. But all of my training has been, do not make a decision based off of a place of reaction.
Or fear.
Or fear.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was in reaction and fear. And so I felt like I would regret that decision. And it's not about pushing through and avoiding my own intuition. It's about coming to a place of center and then making a decision. And I needed to come back to my center before I made the decision it was time for me to leave the darkness or not. And so what felt like, I think it was probably around 5 hours, but what felt like an eternity, I sat there and I renegotiated my relationship with pain, and I recognized that in life, no one's going to save me. There's no one outside of me that's going to be able to get inside of my experience and save me. This is mine to do. This is mine to come back to my center and to be the shaman of my own experience, and to be the medicine woman of my own experience, and to be the healer of my own experience, to renegotiate my relationship with pain and use it in service for good. And if I can do this for myself now, then the piece of empowerment will lock in that this will apply to every area of my life, that I'm good. And that will completely allow me to transmute this needing energy from anybody. I don't need you to be anything for me, because I am for me. I am what I need for myself. And therefore then in the presence of others, there's a lightness that is born because it's a want, not a need. I want to be around you. I want to marinate in your energy, and I need nothing from you. Yeah. Which is very magnetic. So I remember there was this thing that I was told a while ago, or I don't know how it came to me, but I was shown that if all I had in this life was just my healing touch, that would be enough. That will take me everywhere I need to go. And so I just applied that to myself, and I just called in my Reiki. I placed the Reiki symbols on my womb. I held myself like I would if my child, my little girl, came up to me and was like, Mama, I'm in pain, or I'm hurting. Like, how would I embrace her? I would hug her. I would hold her. I would love her. I would nurse her. I'd rock her back and forth until she felt fine again. I'd get to do that to myself. And so I did. And then at the end, when I actually started to find this place of empowerment again, and this place of my breathing becoming deeper, my grandmother who passed came to me, and she sat with me. And she said, I've been here this whole time. She was the one that taught me Reiki as a kid. All you have to do is ask, and you don't have to do this alone. And I have her ring around my necklace, which is the ring that she gave me just before she passed. And she said, whenever you need me, just put the ring on your finger and call me in, and I'll be here. And I felt a wave of peace wash over my whole body. And I felt like I was back. I felt like my spirit had come back in. And what that dream did was it opened up a portal into all of the things that I hadn't given myself permission to feel yet. So I felt the depth of the separation of my partner and the merging of what it was. I felt the depth of this, the sadness of the passing of that generation of my family lineage. My grandfather, my grandmother, meaning everyone in the family has now moved up a generation. So my mum's gone into the crone, I've gone into the archetype of the mother, and then there's the next generation that's coming through me. And what that actually means. Because I was in such a low vibrational state, that gave me access to the low vibrational things that I hadn't given myself permission to feel through distraction. And because I got to feel it, then that space got opened up, and then that was filled with a sense of, I know who I am, I know why I'm here, and I know how I serve. And that is the empowerment that then gave birth to the next wave of the darkness initiation, which was pretty next level.